The more I think about it, the more I realize just how important reality TV was to my childhood. I truly believe that the reality TV boom of the 2000s is unparalleled in terms of entertainment and can't miss trash. There was so much to offer that I often forget all the shows I melted my brain with until they pop into my head years later. Like the show we'll be revisiting today, Dating in the Dark. ABC's Dating in the Dark was based on an original Dutch program, Daten in het Donker. I'm so sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. The premise is simple. 3 men and 3 women go on dates in a pitch black room to see if personality is more important than looks. Or at least that's what they say. It's probably just for the sake of drama, to be honest with you. Basically, Dating in the Dark walked so Love is Blind could fly. In this episode, we meet Steven, a self-proclaimed genius.
As a self-proclaimed genius.
Who I have so many problems with.
Hopefully that girl also has good pheromones and a good hip-to-waist ratio.
Seth, who is very invested in his horizontally striped polo shirts. And great value Jude Law, aka Alistair, a DJ with a troubled past and the deepest of V-necks. Then we meet Christina, who tells us she's usually into emotionally unavailable men, so this is probably going to go really well for her. Melanie, who reminds me so much of Kitty from Arrested Development.
Who are you asking back, Michael? Me? Or these?
She's wonderful, though. She was totally my favorite. And then Lainey, who loves her chunky belts. After the contestants settle in, all 6 enter the dark room for a literal blind date. Lainey immediately bonds with Steven over words.
I'm an SAT tutor.
Oh, so you know about words?
I know, I use them,
Wow.
I do.
I'm like a massive nerd and I'm really into guys that know about grammar and words.
And then when Alistair starts talking about being a DJ, she of course brings up her own turntables.
I have a twin brother, so we DJ together and we tour a lot, so we're not.
Because I bought my turntables from Australia.
You're cheating on Steven already?
I know, I'm like, wow.
And when Seth starts talking about cars, she also conveniently loves the same car that he does.
I love cars.
In fact,
Seth loves cars. What's your favorite car?
The Audi R8.
Yes, me too right now.
Now, I don't want to call her a pick-me, but
Lainey's got a very outgoing personality. She's into a varied amount of things, which I'll admit I'm a little skeptical of, because she seemed to have a very strong connection with all 3 guys.
this is a rare moment of me agreeing with anything Steven has done in this episode. Next, we have something I referred to in my notes as a challenge because I couldn't think of anything else to call it, but if you have a better idea, let me know. But basically, our host, Rossi, comes into each wing of the house and tells our contestants that they have to take off their shirts so they can give them to the others. And this was already weird to me. And then Steven, oh God.
She's blonde. She's slim. I mean, there's a little bit of ketoacidosis in her sweat. Sure.
Steven just has to make it so much weirder.
I'll be honest, I gotta say, just pheromone speaking.
Stop smelling the shirts, Steven.
No way. You smell? Don't, dude. Don't tell her that.
I like the way you smell.
Just please stop. Now it's time for the one-on-one dates. Each contestant gets to invite another to the dark room. Lainey invites Seth, who brings 2 beers with him. As we see later in the show, this is kind of his go-to move, I guess. They start touching each other's bodies and faces to kind of get a feel for what they look like, I guess. But other than that, they don't really seem to connect as a couple. Steven and Christina both pick each other, largely based on the content of their shirts.
Let me ask you, how did you make your decision when you picked me?
The shirt helped.
Okay, I like your shirt. That was a big defining factor.
Really?
And for Steven,
I'm a very big believer in pheromones. And I mean, do you mind if I just kind of smell you?
No, go ahead.
Lord Steven, get your nose away from that poor woman.
You smell phenomenal.
Melanie also picked Steven, and thank God that didn't go anywhere. She's precious and we need to protect her at all costs. Alistair, meanwhile, has chosen Lainey, who promptly friend zones him. After this, we learn that the contestants all did a compatibility questionnaire, so Rossi comes to tell them their results. Seth and Christina are matched up, followed by Alistair and Melanie, and Steven and Lainey. This is where the rest of the episode really starts taking shape. Seth teaches Christina how to putt in the darkroom and does the old stand behind the girl to guide her trick where he gets a little handsy, but Christina doesn't seem to mind. She says she was initially intrigued by him, but her worries are more about whether his face matches up with his personality.
There was definitely some chemistry there. We had great connection when we talked. Like, everything seemed right, but I have no idea what I just kissed in there. I hope to God that when I was revealed, I don't have this guy that looks like Shrek.
Before her date with Alistair, Melanie worries that they won't have very much in common, while Alistair is worrying he'll trauma dump on her too early and turn her off. Luckily for him, though, Melanie wants him to get vulnerable, and he's able to talk to her about how his mother abandoned the family, which was really nice to watch. They hit it off, holding hands and bonding, and they're just so cute, I can barely stand it. During Lainey's date with Steven, she tries to talk to him about the future, like kids and marriage, but he's got other things on his mind.
Ooh, okay. Here's my feeling about that. You know what? I mean, I certainly don't fancy myself to be promiscuous, but I do believe in passion. I do believe when there's a connection that you should go for it. That is when sex is really hot.
I didn't ask you about sex. I asked about marriage.
What did I?
Steven must be stopped. But fortunately for him, Lainey likes his passionate side, as she says, so
Crazy. I told myself I was gonna behave myself.
good for them, I guess. More one-on-one dates are had after this, but all they seem to do is prove the compatibility results right. After a little exploration with the other contestants, they wind up sticking with their recommended partners for the rest of the show. Alistair and Melanie just take my heart in their one-on-one date. Melanie discusses the importance of her family and gives him a ring she got when her dad remarried, which is a gesture that seems to mean a lot to Alistair considering the broken home he comes from.
I brought the ring for Alistair because he didn't have the benefit of the family that I did. Family to me represents safety, and it seems like that's something that he's in dire need of. I mean, my family is everything to me.
She gave me a ring and I understood how much it meant to her. I understood how important it was to her, and I put on my finger.
I love them. Seth also gives Christina a meaningful object from his past, and Steven gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I noticed that when I get into the room with Lainey, there is a little bit more of an animalistic side to me that takes over.
Ugh. After this, we have another challenge or whatever where the contestants describe their partners to a sketch artist. The girls mostly resemble their sketches, but the guys are pretty off. Except for Seth, whose sketch comes out pretty darn accurate, but he's the most offended by it for some reason.
Look at my forehead. I'm a hobbit. That's what it is. I'm a hobbit in this picture. Alistair's looked like a little girl, and then they threw down mine, and I had this big forehead, and my face was kind of like misshapen. So I was insulted.
And now comes the big reveal. Everyone is super nervous going into it, and honestly, I don't blame them at all. This is the part of the show that would probably freak me out the most. Steven and Lainey go first. He's really impressed by her, but Lainey thinks he looks kind of like the guy that her mother would tell her to go out with. Seth is blown away by Christina, but Christina, who's the most hung up on looks of the girls, is not exactly thrilled. So things are really not looking good for Seth. Our relatable queen Melanie is super attracted to Alistair, and I'm not quite sure where Alistair's head is at in this moment.
Melanie's a great girl. As for seeing Melanie later, I have this issue with it's not you, it's me syndrome, but it really is me. You know, I really get concerned that she might get to know more and dislike something. So I just don't know what I'm gonna do.
After seeing each other under the light for the first time, the couples now have to choose. One partner goes up onto the balcony where they wait to see if the person they chose comes to meet them, or if they go through the front door and never to be seen again. Steven is the first to arrive on the balcony where he waits for Lainey. Feeling a little overconfident, he starts hiding behind a bunch of plants and awkwardly waits for her, and it's like really uncomfortable to watch. Lainey finally walks through the door and he scares the shit out of her by jumping out of the bushes. They kiss, and for a moment I'm actually happy for them. And then Steven just has to make it weird again.
Finally, all my senses come together and they're able to appreciate the full package. And she smelled just as good as I remembered.
Seth comes out to the balcony waiting for Christina, who seems to be really going through it. And surprising no one, she's soon shown walking out of the door. Every time I watched this show when I was younger, I thought it was so weird that they just make the rejector They just make the person who rejects. I thought it was so weird that they just make the rejector walk past the car waiting in the driveway and then drag their own suitcase off into the distance. Like, can't they just get a ride? Seth seems pretty upset about getting rejected, and honestly, I feel bad for him, but we all knew it was coming. Christina was not into his face, and she was clearly broken up about it because she really liked his personality, but she just couldn't force the physical attraction. No one can.
He is waiting up there for me, and I just feel bad. Because I'm like, I don't want people just to judge me on my looks. It's not all about that to me, but I guess I really hoped I would have like that real connection with him and that it would be there on all levels. And I wish that that aspect of it didn't matter so much to me.
Lastly, we have Melanie, who's waiting for Alistair, and this is where I got really, really nervous watching this.
I really hate this feeling.
Hey! I thought he was totally going to give me the bum's rush. I've been walking out here on my own.
How are you?
Fabulous, thank you. Thank you very much for turning up. Melanie's amazing. We share a lot of life experiences, so I was able to connect with somebody, you know? Somebody still found something in me that they liked.
Oh my God, the way I smiled when he walked through that door. Oh. From my limited Googling, I couldn't find out what happened with Melanie and Alistair after the show, but I hope it worked out. They were really cute together. If anyone actually knows or has any insight into that, let me know in the comments. So anyway, that was Dating in the Dark, a show from my childhood that I really liked. If there are any shows from your childhood that you really liked, put them down in the comments and maybe I'll feature them in a future video. If you like this, please consider giving me a like and subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out. And join me next time when I watch something else. Bye!